discuss visas, spousal visas, working visas, student visas, permanent residency. Which ones are the best? Which ones you want? So, I've just had my coffee. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, so you want a Japanese visa. You want to be here long term. You don't know which one is the best to have. You don't know where to start. Well, I'm going to tell you, when I first got here, I didn't know anything either. I had to rely on a Japanese lady friend. And she told me that I needed to study, because back then getting visas was very difficult. Right now, it's gotten a lot easier. So I'm a little jealous. I'm jealous of all the things people right now don't have to do. All the suffering people right now don't have to what's the word I'm looking for? Well, they don't have to suffer as much as I did when I got my visas. Anyway, what I'm going to tell you is that the student visa is definitely an option, but if you want to get your student visa, you got to have some money at the beginning, because your student visa is a visa that requires you to pump money into the economy over here. So unless you have money for at least a year and a half or 2 years or whatever, you're not going to last. So I got here on a student visa. I think my monthly expenses to go to the school in order to get that visa, excuse me, I think it was about 50,000 yen. Back then that would have been like about $500, $600 a month in order to be able to study Japanese 20 hours a week. And while you're studying, you're getting a visa that you have to renew every 6 months or every 3 months. I'm not sure, I forget. That was a long time ago. But the thing about it is, if you're not going to school, I remember if you miss a certain number of days, when it's time to go renew your visa, your school has to sign certain paperwork, and there is an envelope that they give you that's sealed, and you have to give that envelope to the immigration officials. So if you miss more than a certain number of days, they might just say, okay, you know something, well, you missed 5, 6, 7, 8 days. I forget how many days you can't miss. Now you're in trouble. You don't have a visa anymore. So that is something you got to think about. So you got to be in school. They do allow you to work 20 hours a week on a student visa. So that definitely does help. Now, that's an option at the beginning, of course. Now, there is the working visa. Now, the working visa is good and bad. I mean, the good thing about the working visa is that it allows you to work. I think it's like 1 year at a time. So every year you got to go back and renew. Now, this is the problem. If you're not on good terms with your employer, he could basically say, okay, I'm not going to sponsor you. So if he doesn't sponsor you, when you go to the immigration and say, oh, well, I don't like my boss, he's doing this, that, and the other thing to me, and he's not really following the law, I don't think they'll care. They'll probably say, oh, okay, oh, I'm really sorry to hear that. Okay, but you don't have a sponsor right now, so therefore you got to leave the country. So you kind of have to be careful. You can't really bite the hand that feeds you. So you got to put up with it if you want to stay here. Another thing I don't really like about the working visa is that when you have a working visa, you can't really work at other companies. So if you wanted to make some extra cash because you didn't feel that the company that you worked for, who is sponsoring you, isn't paying enough, so you wanted to make a little bit more, legally, I don't think you can do that. I'm not saying people don't do it. I'm just saying legally, I'm not sure you could do that. So you can't have part-time jobs on a working visa. So that's something that you got to think about. That's something that you got to, calculate. But again, in Japan, you don't have that many options, so you got to do what you got to do. So yeah, the working visa is very, very restrictive. Your company kind of has you by the you-know-what. So, but again, like I said, you might not have a choice. So now, this is a popular one, where a lot of people from certain countries have working holiday visas. And when I was working as an English teacher at the beginning, there were a lot of Australians, New Zealanders, who basically could come to Japan. They didn't need a sponsor, but you had to be of a certain age. I think you had to be in your 20s or under 25 or under 30. I'm not sure, I forget. But basically they could come here and they could work on a working holiday visa. Now, I don't think you can extend that. Let's say if you come here and it's a year and a half, you are not going to be able to extend it for 2 years or 3 years or whatever. So that working holiday visa is good up to a certain point. But again, there's a limit in terms of like renewal. There's a limit in terms of how much time you're going to be able to spend over here. So you got to think about that. And it's not available for every type of country. So, Australia might have it, New Zealand might have it, and Japan can actually probably go to Australia and New Zealand and get a working holiday there too. So again, like I said, depending on your country, you might or you might not. Now, there is the almighty. There is the spousal visa. Now, that is definitely the most flexible. You can work here, you can work there, you can work wherever you want. There is no limit in terms of like the amount of hours that you can work. Actually, I'll get to the spousal visa later. But let's get on to the digital nomad visa. Now, I'm not saying that I know a lot about it because when I was doing the visa drill, it wasn't available. Now, this digital nomad visa is a new thing. And I guess if you make money in Japan, or if you make money through working overseas, but then you don't really have to stay overseas to work, you can probably get a visa here. Honestly, I think it's probably a ripoff. Because, all right, let's say if you're working overseas and you don't really have to be at work, but you're working at home, and then you come over here and you get a digital nomad visa. Now, this is what I don't like about it. Right now, like I said, the yen is going down. It's not going up. So the digital nomad visa allows you to work here and you live here. But then what happens is you're going to be putting your dollars, I would assume, a currency that has a higher value, and you're going to be putting it in a Japanese bank, and you're going to be converting that to yen. Now, I'm not sure that I want to hold yen right now. So I'd much rather come here for 3 months, leave for 1 month, come back for another 3 months, go to Thailand or go to Korea, and then do that over and over again and get my money in dollars instead of Japanese yen. It's not worth it getting paid in yen, or basically getting paid and then having that money converted over to Japanese yen right now. It won't, I mean, for me, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's self-serving. Yeah, it does allow you to stay here for however long or whatever, but financially, this is just my own personal opinion. You can just leave for 3 weeks, come back again. You can leave for a month, come back again for 3 months, because I mean, most people get a 3-month visa. And you can do that 3 times without really having a lot of problems. Now, the 4th time when you come back in, they might ask you what you're doing. And if you say you are an independent journalist or whatever it is, you know, you're doing digital nomad stuff, right? They might be okay with that. I don't know, but they might be okay with that. I think that's way better than changing your money to yen. Now, you have, these days, I've heard talk of a different type of visa. Now, this visa, I think, is like a business visa, where you don't need money to start. I don't know what that's all about. Or you don't have to have money at the beginning, because usually at the beginning you have to have like a whole bunch of money to invest. But I heard you don't need the money to invest. But then how are you going to live? So therefore, obviously, you're bringing money into the country. So again, I don't have a lot of information on that visa. So you might want to check. Maybe the information's in English right now. So you might want to check that and see if that's something that you might be interested in. But again, even if they tell you that you don't need big money at the beginning, I don't see how that's going to work, because you're going to need money to live. And if you're going to open up a business over here, you're going to need startup money. And wherever you go in Japan, whether you're opening a small little bar or a small little restaurant somewhere, you're going to have to put money in there in order to do something. So just think about that. Now, you've got your, let's see. You've got your spousal visa. All right. Let me talk about the spousal visa. This is like the almighty visa. This is like the creme de la creme. That's like the visa that gives you the most flexibility. But again, if you don't get along with your wife or your partner, I wouldn't go marry somebody just for that, because they'll make your life a living hell because they own you. Okay? And these ladies, once they know that you are in that spot where you need that spousal visa, they will own you, and they will flex their muscles on you when the time is right, especially when they want to get their way. And when they want to get their way and they know that it's time for renewal, be careful. But anyway, let me talk about the spousal visa. Now, the spousal visa is definitely something that I would say is not a bad visa, because you can have as many jobs as you want. It technically allows you to access the financial system, meaning, now I'm not saying that you will be successful in accessing the financial system. That's a whole different story, and I actually think that you won't be in most cases. But the spousal visa will get you in the door a lot. A lot of people, let's say if you want to rent an apartment, if you have permanent residency, sometimes it makes a little bit of a difference. Not all the time, but sometimes it does. If you want to borrow money or get a credit card, the spousal visa definitely helps sometimes. I'm not saying that you are going to be successful just because you have a spousal visa or but it makes a teeny tiny bit of a difference. So you might be able to get a credit card on it. You're not going to get it, I think, on a working visa because your time frame is like a year. On a student visa, you're definitely not going to get it because your time frame is like every 6 months or 3 months, I think. On a digital nomad visa, that's still to be determined. So, yeah, you've got certain things that you can do on a spousal visa. Now, let's see. The drawback with the spousal visa is that you feel like I said, you're going to feel like, now you're not going to feel that way if you're on good terms with your significant other. But if you're on bad terms with your significant other, then that spousal visa can feel like a lead weight on your neck because you might have to stay with somebody that you don't like. It might even rush you into a situation that you didn't even want to rush into because you are living in a place and you're working here and you've been here for a while and your whole situation can be turned upside down. So, like I said before, I think I've said it in a previous episode, that spousal visa is probably at the beginning, they can give you 3 months if they want to. Then you got to go back after 3 months to renew it again. And if you're not getting along with your wife, and let me tell you something. If she goes to immigration and says, something, we're not getting along, or sometimes all they have to do is look at the immigration official and look like pathetic or like she's unhappy, and that immigration official will pick up on that. And all of a sudden, they give you 3 months. And she might not even fight for you. But I've heard of instances where when you are getting along with your wife and they petition and they say, hey, I need more, where it does happen. But again, you might be in a situation where she's not fighting for you. And she's actually happy that you only got 3 months because now she's got you for another 3 months and she can squeeze you. So be careful. And every 3 months, they'll probably stamp your passport 3 months in the worst case scenario, 6 months in an okay scenario, and then 1 year, and then 3 years. Now, like I said, it's been a while since I've gone through this. So therefore things could have changed a little bit, but I think my information is still quite accurate. Either way, that spousal visa can transition into permanent residency. Now, with permanent residency, you got to go through a whole process. You got to hand them a resume of where you've worked. In my situation, it's like, you have to hand them a resume of where you've been in the last 10 years. Then your wife or your wife's in-laws have to write some sort of recommendation letter for you, explaining that you've been a good citizen, explaining that you haven't done anything wrong in this place. And usually that process can take 3 months to 6 months, depending on your location. Some people it could even take a year. Now, I haven't seen a situation where it took longer, but it could take that long to get your permanent residency. And while you're waiting for it, your heart is like beating, boom, 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 boom. And when you get it, you probably feel like you're free. You never have to go back to that immigration office again and be disrespected. I'm not saying they disrespect everybody, but yeah, but they do that. You never have to fear if you're not getting along with your significant other and she knows when your visa's about to expire and she's ready to pounce when she knows when you got to go back to that immigration office. So once you get that permanent residency, you're free. I mean, I know people who've taken a vacation because they felt like they had fought King Kong. Now, these days, I definitely do hear that it's a lot easier than it was before. So it's not as difficult as it was before. Now, I don't know what the process is now, but that's the best visa to have, the one where you're free of harassment for a while from immigration. I'm not saying that they harass everybody. I'm just saying that they harass some people, and not all experiences with immigration is positive. Now, in Japan, sometimes they do certain things that are just like ridiculous. And one thing. Now, permanent residency in Japan is called Eijuken. That's what they call it. And now, there is permanent residency, and there is also Tokubetsu Eijuken. And there's like special permanent residency. So therefore, people who have the special permanent residency, I guess they're higher up than the people who have just permanent residency. And honestly, I think that is like ridiculous. It is silly. It just like puts people in a category where they're made to feel that they're better than people who don't have the special Eijuken or the special permanent residency. I mean, it's like goodness. I mean, it's like, I don't know, honestly, I haven't looked into it. I don't know what special privileges they have that I don't, or people that I don't know if they can vote. I mean, I think that's highly unlikely, but they somehow have something special about them in Japan. And when you go through the airport and you see a line, I think that the permanent residents and the Tokubetsu Eijuken, or the special permanent residents, they go through the same line. So I don't know I don't know. I mean, honestly, I'm not really aspiring for that category because I don't really think that it's going to do anything for me in regards to like getting special employment or going to the bank or being able to get a special loan because I've got this Tokubetsu Eijuken or special permanent residency. I mean, again, like I said, it just like, I'm pretty sure that everybody who's got permanent residency is looking at that and feeling, what the hell? And they just started that after permanent residency. I don't know if I don't know. But anyway, those are, again, I'm not saying that I dove into all the visa classes that you have here in Japan. No, I definitely didn't. But I've just talked about the main ones, the ones that most people are concerned with. So, anyway, Chase the Traveler, coming to you from Japan with another episode. So again, do me a favor, like and subscribe. Consider becoming a member and join. You'll have access to things that aren't available for viewers. For example, you can access videos that haven't been yet released. Also, you can buy me a coffee, and you'll have access to different perks. So, again, thanks again for watching. Love you guys, and see you again in the next episode.